I must love you rascals because she told the truth when she said I have been traveling. I didn't get in until after 2 o'clock. I've been out of the country. And I would still be in the bed if not for you. But the truth of the matter is, if I were not a Quaker, and as some of you know, I was the head of our denomination in the United States and Canada for 2 terms when I was very young, 28 to 34. This is where I would belong. Because one of the things that bothered me when I was really young, because I pastored while I was in theology school, from 21 to 25, is I felt it was too much weight for me. Because people expected me always to be able to get up and speak exactly at 11:45. Well, the Spirit doesn't move you that way. But here, people share responsibility. And it's not only on one person. Nora said something, and obviously this was not in what I had been praying over, saying with you, about all of us having gifts. In our meeting as Quakers, there were periods of silence when anyone could speak who chose to speak, who felt led to speak. But there were people who never spoke. And I remember talking to one woman, her name was Jenny Booker. And Jenny, I've known thousands of people in my life. And there's very few that I can quote twice, but I can quote Jenny twice. She didn't speak in meeting. She spoke outside of meeting. One time, I had said, remember, I'm brash. I'm like 21, 22 years old. With an afro out like this, it's doing the Black Power movement. I'm the only black man in the whole town in Maine. And I said, I can't wait to get home after worship because I'm going to eat this cake that I baked from scratch. So Jenny said to me afterwards, oh, you baked a cake from scratch. Now, we're in a rural area. I didn't know that you were a farmer and that you grew the wheat and you willowed the wheat and that you milked the cow and you churned the butter. And, like, I was so happy that she didn't say that in meeting and that she said it in private. And then another time, her husband, who I believe was one of the 2 best men I have ever known, he died. And I officiated over the funeral. I wore a black suit, white shirt, black tie. You know how Americans say you're supposed to be dressed in black and white. Afterward, Jenny said, I am so disappointed in you, Dwight. I thought you were going to wear that red blazer of yours. That bless your soul, Jenny. You all will ask me to give you a title for what I'm going to say weeks in advance. Nobody else does that. Nobody else. And I decided I would speak about unleashing compassion. Some of you know that I've written 3 Psalms books. The one I'm working on right now, I chose one of the Psalms, but I'm not going to read it, and it's from 2025, and it shocked me because I've already written 62 Psalms just on compassion, but I'm not going to read that one. Every morning when I get up, I do what I call devotions. I'm reading the Bible straight through from Genesis to Revelation for the 13th time. I once bragged to one of my mentors that at the time she's dead now, I was on the 10th time. And she said, oh, really? I stopped counting after 50. So, fortunately, she was in a nursing home at the time, and we're the only 2 that were in the room, so nobody heard her put me in my place. But I have put together verses that mean a great deal to me, and I will always read one of those each morning, whether I'm reading straight through or not. I also will read what I call a personal query. I know my weaknesses, and there's so many that I have almost 200 personal queries right now. And I will read a quote from a black man, because I am a black man, a black woman, because my mother was a black woman, and a couple from multicultural sources. There are over 400 on that one, because my friends are multicultural. Frankly, I'm going to love you regardless of what your race is. But you also may get on my nerve regardless of what your race is, as one of my brothers does, but we won't go into that. I'm going to start by reading to you a series of from my devotions. And then I'm going to, I love jazz. I'm going to improvise after that. This is from Isaiah 54:10. Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of peace be removed, says the Holy One, who has compassion for you. From Luke 6:36. Be compassionate as the Holy One is compassionate. This is from my queries. How do I maintain self-compassion yet avoid self-pity? So often in my life, I have not been willing to be compassionate toward myself. I beat myself up for various mistakes, but I also don't want to wallow in self-pity. This is from Marcia Chaitlin. Ultimately, history encourages us to be more compassionate toward individuals navigating few choices. And history cautions us to be far more critical of the institutions and structures that have power to take choices away. This is from Richard Foster, who's a Quaker who used to be good friends with me. We didn't break up, we just haven't seen each other in decades. Lead with compassion, with love, with joy. And from the Prophet Muhammad, kindness is a mark of faith, and whoever is not kind has no faith. So, when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, Hazel Wilson was murdered by her husband. My mother's name was Hazel Wilson. In the ghetto that I lived in, there were maybe 6,000 blacks. And we all knew either each other or people's relatives. And when we went to school, people would say to us, "I'm so sorry your mother was killed by your father." Now that's very unsettling, because that was not our mother that had been killed. Our father was known to be violent. Even his sisters carried guns. One of my earliest memories is my father pulling a gun on my mother. I was 3, sleeping in their bedroom, and my mother begging for her life. But it wasn't Mama that got killed. I believe, I can't prove this, that the first time I ever prayed was for those children that were left behind after Hazel Wilson was killed. I believe that. So maybe 10 years ago, I had decided I don't want any more Facebook friends. I'm not letting anybody be a friend who I don't already know. So a woman wrote me and she said, could we be friends on Facebook? I told her what I just told you. I said, hey, if I don't know you, I can't help you. She said, you know me. You gave me a scholarship. Our mothers had the same name, Hazel Wilson. Well, if you've ever given a scholarship, my mother died very young. She died at 44. And I gave for years a scholarship in her name. If you know anything about the American tax system, you can't choose who you give the money to and get a write-off. And for years, I wouldn't even pay taxes because I don't believe in any form of violence. And most of our money goes toward killing other people. So I let the high school choose who they would give the scholarship to. Wilson happens to be the 8th most common name in America. So when they chose this, and no Wilson other than my brothers and sisters in my hometown were related to us. So when they chose her, it never entered my mind that this is who it was. So 25 years before, somewhere around there, I had prayed for this child. "25 years later, I find out I have helped her go to college for 4 years. If you believe in expanding compassion, it has to be beyond your brain. It has to be in your actions. I'm going to bring things up to this past week. I'm on this cruise, and I did not want to go on the cruise. It's the first time I had ever been on a cruise. But I knew that if we went on a cruise, certain people were not going to be able to go because they didn't have the money. And they were not going to be able to bring their children. But they will call me the patriarch. And some people say, patriarch. The two who served before me were matriarchs, so I have no trouble using that word. So I had to go. And I had a good time. And there are all types of activities on that boat. I went to hear 3 comedians. And part of each one of their presentations was to belittle people who were in the audience. Complete strangers. Somebody might say something, and then they would say something mean to her or him. And sometimes they would apologize later and say, I'm just messing with you. They didn't say messing, you know the word. I'm just messing with you. And they gave us a warning before we came in. If you're a sensitive person, you shouldn't be here. Well, I'm a sensitive person. And I know that I was not the only person in that room who was praying that they wouldn't get picked on. I know that. Because there's a woman next to me, and she told me, and I never met her before. She said, I hope he don't pick on me. I said, baby, you really shouldn't be here. I didn't say that, but I thought it. 2 times in particular really stuck out, and I decided I wasn't going to go back again. Oop, water, I'm sorry. One time, a woman was heckling him, and he asked her to stop, and she wouldn't. And so then he said, you are a white trash trailer park woman. It's like, you don't even know me. And you saying this in front of like 400 or 500 people? And so this is early on. toward the end, he says, where's the woman who I call white trash trailer park? Barbie. He didn't say woman, Barbie. And somebody said, well, she got up and left. He said, well, I'm sorry I said it. No, man, you shouldn't have said it in the first place. You should not have said it in the first place. That had absolutely nothing to do with compassion. And another time that stood out, he said he was in love with a woman. He thought they were going to get married, but both her parents were dwarfs. And he made fun of her father, and she broke off the engagement. He said, why'd you do that? I still loved her. It's like, and he did a whole routine making fun of dwarfs. Well, I got some friends who are dwarfs. And I had been made fun of because of these freckles. I hated and despised my freckles when I was growing up. Some of the mean things that were said to me, I won't even share. I won't share if we're in private. And people screaming when they saw my face. It's like, okay. One time I was in watching one of my sons. He's a basketball player. I was watching him play, and a little boy who was in the audience was walking past, and he screamed when he saw my face. It's like, wow. And my son said afterwards, he said, Daddy, you look like you've been hurt. And I said, I was, and I told him what happened. And he said, Daddy, as successful as you've been in life, you've got 4 wonderful children, you've got all these friends, you've got a beautiful wife, and this hurts you? Yeah, man, it hurt. It hurt. It hurt. We are called to be cheerleaders. Men don't like that word. I use it all the time. And as an ex-basketball player and coach, I love me some cheerleaders. Because we could be beaten by 40 points at home, and the cheerleaders are still cheering us. We are called to be cheerleaders to our children, to our friends, and whether you like the word or not, you should be inspiring people. You should be compassionate. You should not be jumping on people, because if we are going to heal this world, it's going to be because we are compassionate. So when we look at those who are in leadership positions who say mean things about people and to people, and I'm not going to name any names. I don't need to name them. You know where they are. If we can go to a comedy show and laugh while somebody's being ridiculed, we're feeding it. We are feeding it. I only ask that you give me love, and even if you don't, I'm going to give it back. Thank you.